What is up, everybody? My name is Zach Pfeiffer, and this is your recap of episode 4 of season 45 of Survivor, Music to My Ears. Now, it was a really good episode. I was really excited for Tribal Council, and then we all saw what happened, and it's a huge fucking bummer. We'll talk about it. So let's just dive right on into the cuteness. I already swapped everyone up, so we spread. I didn't want to do that on camera. We're going to start off with Sean. Early on, Sean's getting a lot of confessionals. Sean's kind of like taking narrative position. And I immediately am like, oh, this is Sean's episode. So I was thinking Sean was going to be pivotal. And boy, was he. He comes back and it's just like, great one, guys. You got me. And Caleb and Emily are just like not buying it. They're just like, okay, it's pretty clear. Like, this is awkward, but like it is what it is. And you're left out and you're next. So I think Sean, he calls in his confessional, he's begging for a swap, and the Survivor gods grant it. So we get our first tribe swap in the new era. It's so exciting, y'all. We have 3 separate tribes here now. The new Reba tribe has 4 original Reba with Dee, J. Maya, Julie, and Sifu. With the addition of Sweet Sean, we see plenty of them later this episode. Lulu has 4 old Bello with Bruce, Jake, Katurah, Kelly. Love that Bruce and Katurah are still together. Amazing. And Caleb has joined the tribe and stayed on the tribe. And over at Bello, probably the most complex, most interesting of the swaps. We got 2 original Reba with Austin and Drew, a duo. And then we have 2 original Bello still on the tribe with Brandon and Kendra. And then we have Emily joining. Interesting breakdown. Emily is queen of the castle, and everyone knows it. So we get to the swap. They do the swapping things. It's all exciting because it's always exciting when something like this happens in the game. It's like a reset for some. It's like a foil to others. But regardless, it's great television. And they go back to their beaches. And we start off with, we're going to start with the new Lulu Beach. So Caleb's like ready to play host and bring everyone out. And they're all like ready to be like, yay, we're here. And Bruce comes back and realizes that it's Tika's beach. And if you remember from season 44, Bruce spent like 12 hours on that beach. And that was where he was concussed and was pulled out of the game and his dream ended. Lucky for him, we all love him and he was back. But devastating, traumatic. And being back on the beach triggered something really powerful in Bruce, and he just got to let it out. So like grieves this loss of his previous cycle that he missed. And it's like pretty crazy to watch and powerful, and like nice to finally get some like Bruce that's not just like Uncle Bruce, but that does not last long because he comes back and is like, where's the, we get to the Flint later, but we have Katurah here and she is just so over Bruce. And what's really funny is I went to a watch party this past week, this Wednesday at Crystal Lake in Brooklyn, and sweet Katurah and Kelly and Brandon were all in attendance. It was so cute. But they can't really say things because CBS laws and everything. But it's really funny because it's pretty clear that Katurah was talking about a lot more people than just Bruce. And it's just really funny that the narrative that the editors have chosen are Bruce is driving me crazy because, it's hilarious. And we get a wordless confessional from her, and it's just, it's so funny. I love it. But we have Caleb kind of being the king of this little beach. Jake having a little moment with Caleb being like, I want to see you in the merge. Katurah also has a moment with Caleb where she's like, listen, I like you. Also, Bruce is the target. So it's kind of lining up that Bruce and Jake are going to kind of be against Katurah and Kelly. And I think that Katurah is potentially in trouble here because if we remember, Kelly's floating in the middle. And if the numbers are swinging against Katurah, who is the only one that's actively saying a name right now, I think it'd be really easy for the 4 of them to team up and get rid of Katurah. I don't want that to happen. I love Katurah. She's on my tribe. But it's a very strong possibility playing as aggressive as she is. I love it, but it's something to look out for. That's pretty much all we get from Lulu. And then we get Bello. And it's another interesting breakdown, the more interesting of the mix because we have 2 Bello, 2 Reba, and Emily in the middle. And plus we have Austin and Drew together, who have been kind of like an item. They have like a bunch of power in the game, 3 advantages. And they are courting Emily. And we don't see as much from Brando and Kendra, but like, I'm sure they are as well. I think this is a situation where they really don't want to have to go to tribal council. Austin and Drew are bonded. They won't break up. I'm worried about Brando and Kendra, who did not talk much on the original Bello tribe. So if Emily is going to be with the Power, which makes sense because she was very excited about working with those two, I can see Kendra latching on and getting Brando out, or vice versa, Brando targeting Kendra. We'll see how that breakdown goes. I have a suspicion. I'll share that at the end with my predictions for next week's boot. Reba. So, great little breakdown. We have 4 Rebas staying over there with DJ, Maya, Julie, and Sifu. And then Sean joins. And Sean's like, let me tell you everything. I'm ready to be here. Like, I'm so excited. And kind of nervous about being on the outs. I feel like Sean has been traumatized a bit through this process of so many losses, and just assumes that he's going to be on the bottom, which I think is a contributing factor to the ultimate result of this episode. But quickly on, J. Maya realizes the opportunity to get out the threat of Sifu. Sifu, as you remember in episode 1, was looking for idols, was hiding and spying on people already. And we had the interaction with Dee catching him hiding. And not so much from J. Maya, but thank God we finally are hearing from her. Because she is adamant about getting Sifu out and is being like, ladies, let's get Sean in and get Sifu out. And then we can get Sean next week. And it's not a terrible plan. Because if they're doing the math right, which I assume they are, I think we're going to have 2 or 3 more tribal councils before the merge or the mergatory moment, where we all come together. And I think all that DJ, Maya, and Julie really need to do is stay tight in those 3. The 4th is a little tricky, and he's obviously in the outs, hasn't really had done much. But if they look at their tribe, and they're clearly a little bit weaker than the other ones, they plan on voting at least twice of the 3 times, is math. So for these 3 ladies, their most safest, like their safest path to the merge might actually be embracing the losses and just planning it now and getting rid of the person who might have an idol, even though Dean and Julie both know he doesn't, who's been looking and scouring through that jungle, or Sean, who is like not their number, and could very easily be doing like what the Tika 3 ended up doing, just trying to break them up. Which is what you would do if you were on the bottom in that situation. So to get to the merge or mergatory, these 3 might need to stick together if they want to survive these votes. On the flip side, Julie does have a valid point of like the best way to not get voted out is not go to tribal council. But I don't necessarily think tribal council is bad, mostly because you can tell where people's votes are. You can tell where their allegiances are, or what they do, how they're thinking. There's a lot you can tell from the way people vote. And for Reba and Bello, the originals, they have not gone to tribal council yet. So they have these alliances, but none of these alliances have been tested yet. So great opportunity for J. Maya to like cement the 3 of them and target Sifu. This challenge that we get to, the immunity challenge, is brutal. It looks so difficult to carry that big box up and out of the water, and I was just like, there's that point when they like are coming out of the water and it's like shin deep and they're like kind of going up the slope of the sand. That must have been miserable. And to like then just do like the basketball thing, it was like a really brutal challenge. I was, most of the challenges I'm like, oh, I would love to do that. That one looked not fun. And it was close, but Lulu wins, and it's fantastic, and Bella wins as well, sending Reba back to the first tribal council, Sean to his 4th tribal council, very triggering for him. And so, like, throughout their scramble, it is clear that the votes are probably going to be Sifu or Sean. And I was curious if eventually it was going to leak that J. Maya was pushing so hard for Sifu, so they all turned on her, but that never happened in this episode. So the targets were Sean or Sifu. Listening to Jeff's podcast on Fire, it was confirmed that Sifu was going to be the vote based on pre-tribal council interviews and all that stuff. And even throughout most of the tribal council, like Julie warns Sean, is like, listen, we're going to be saying Reba strong, so just like don't read into it, you're safe. And like, I don't know, Sean. I'm like not here for like the public, like Twitter hate, like the vitriol of people being like, quitters are the worst thing ever, and like all, it's like, yeah, it sucks, but like let him make his decisions, just like get out of my way. I don't want to spend much more time or energy worrying about you, to be frank. So when we get to this point where they're talking about like this adventure that Survivor is, like Sean literally is like, yeah, Survivor is a big adventure, but my biggest adventure is at home with my husband, and like kind of talking about how this like how he's overcome all these failures in his life, and it's really moving and touching, and I was touched. And then it turns all of a sudden to being like, and that's why I've had my time and I'm ready to go and I want you all to vote for me. And it was just a wild flip, and I feel like it was I feel like my personal opinion is I think Sean both was fed up with being on the bottom and not having control of like this narrative, and I feel like that's also very triggering with like his experience as a queer person in the Mormon faith, and like having that be repressed, and like I've read articles about how he went to like conversion therapy and stuff like that, and like very traumatic things, and I think like not having control and like being able to take what is his to his, I think was like really just like messing with his head, and I think he thought he was going home. I think at this point I think he thinks that like the four of them were actually going to vote and they were just like playing him, and I think he was like, I'm tired of that, and I can trust my husband, and I love my husband, and I just want to be with him, and that's kind of what he said, even though, Sean, you're not going home right away, you're going to Ponderosa for like a week and a half until the jury happens, so like you're still not going to see your husband right away, which is doesn't make sense, Sean. But Sean orchestrates a quit, as Jeff says, and I think that's exactly how to put it. It's what Hannah did, but with like even worse, like a worse taste in my mouth. A quit in this point in the game, even the first part of the game, it screws people's games. Like if you think about Sabaya's game, if Emily had gone out, Sabaya would still be here, and that's because Hannah. In this situation, Sean quit and comes on down here to Ponderosa for another week and a half without seeing his husband. But they still voted. And Dee voted Sifu. And now Sifu's like, who voted for me? And Sean was like, wasn't me. So he's gonna know one of these girls voted for him. I'm sure it's not gonna be hard for him to know it's Dee. And now Dee has a target that was supposed to be gone. And like, Survivor happens and stuff like that. And like, I get things like outlying things affect the game because they're surviving. And technically they did not outlast, so Sean, you did not outlast, you did not succeed in that. But ultimately it's just like so disrespectful to like these people's games. It really shakes it up, and it's just like not a mechanic that Survivor's supposed to have. So I really hope they find a solution to this. 2 quits in 1 season. It's Gabon 2.0, everybody. Yeah, I hate it. So next week, I think Lulu's solid, y'all. I think they are solid. They seem strong. They got these 3 guys and these strong fit-ass ladies. I think they're fine. Bello over here, they've got Austin, Drew's tall, and then you have these 3, and like Kendra's fit, and Emily does fine, and Brendo's like pretty small. So they could lose next week. And Reba could very well lose next week, but I have a feeling that Sifu has a fire lit underneath him now, seeing his name. He's going to be charged, ready to go. I do not think he's going to let them lose this challenge. He's going to fight. So honestly, I do think Bello's probably going to be going to Tribal Council next week. And if my money was on it, like I said earlier, it's either Brando or Kendra. I think Brando will be next, mostly because of edits. I do not think he's had enough screen time. And like a pre-merge boot at this point where we had a couple that are like we cared about Brandon, we cared about Sabaya, and then Sean's like, what? But like we cared about a couple of the vote offs so far, and like it's like edit, like we want to feel good about some of these boots, and we don't know much about Brando, so I would say Brando. I would be shocked if it was Emily. I really think that she's gonna be locked in with these 2. Austin and Drew have so much up their sleeve that I think they're gonna be doing some stuff. Only like with that would be if they do go and they haven't told Emily about the stuff yet, but if Emily finds out about like all these things that they have and then is like, oh my god, they're so powerful, like would she try to flush all that and try to get rid of them, or would that be too complicated since there's 2 of them and she wouldn't know who has what? It's a lot. But yeah, my final answer for next week is probably Brando boy. But we will see. Who knows? Maybe we'll have another quit. We had a preview of Jake having another seizure. Maybe we'll have a medical evacuation as well. 2 quits and a medical evacuation. Would love to see it, because that's really how you play Survivor. I did like this episode, y'all. It was just such a bummer. And this is the last little bit I will spend talking about Sean. So, best of luck. I really hope when he saw his husband, it was everything he wanted and more. I'll see you all next week. Mwah.